Peace. I just wanted to go over again, for those who wanted to have this as a reference and for just the future reference of again what the sun does in a year, right? So we are starting and doing this group to acknowledge the winter solstice, which is down here. Let me make sure I have my annotation thing going. Okay, which is down here. So the sun is born on, well, not born, but it crosses over the horizon. The new year starts in spring. Okay. Spring is equal parts day and equal part night. That's why it's called the equinox. And then what happens is it moves on over to the summertime, and that is the longest day of the year. So the summer is the longest day. Summer solstice is the longest day that we have of the year. And then it comes over to the fall, and that is literally when the sun takes its fall, right? It goes into its descent. Um, and it goes through the fall, specifically getting kissed by death in Scorpio. And when we get to the winter solstice is the shortest day of the year. So it is the least amount of light that is happening for the year. Now, energetically, what that means is that here the sun. We're talking about the sun, which is Leo, creative, self-expression, love, children, creativity, but most important, not most importantly, but also ego. Ego, which is amazing, but when you are wanting to make changes and wanting to do shifts, it's really good to work with when the sun is at its weakest point after it has gone into fall, right? And fall equinox, just a double back, fall equinox, same thing, equal day and night, right? So as it falls, as it does its descent, it loses its vitality, the sun, its energy. Our ego is less powerful in that way, right? And so this is a great time to be able to shift and say, hey, I don't want to do this anymore, or I want to start walking, or I want to make sure I'm getting proper amounts of sleep. These are things that I'm planning on working on in this upcoming winter solstice. We start to work at least 20. I like to just start the day after Thanksgiving because we pig out usually here in the States. And so wanting to start after Thanksgiving, but to give ourselves 21 days or so, if not more, to create and commit to these habits before we go into the winter solstice. Now, what actually happens in the winter solstice is that on the 21st or the 20th, because it fluctuates each year between the 20th and the 21st, is that day the sun, shortest day, sun, the least amount of sun we'll get. And then it kind of pauses, it kind of holds onto itself right here. And for the next 4 days, it kind of is in this what we like to call like cusp, or this kind of, it's not stagnant energy, but it is kind of feels like a transition. And then on the 25th, it bursts itself. It is now officially on the 25th of December, the sun is reborn. And that very much parallels with a lot of the things that we celebrate here in the West in regards of Christmas or the resurrection, the birth of the sun. And for me, I study astrotheology. So this just really helped me to understand some of the wisdom that goes into a lot of our practices and even religions, right? So while this is a busy time where we are gifting things, we're going to a lot of parties and doing all of this stuff. Ancestrally, this was a time that if you did not plan in fall, if you did not do all of your planning and all of your harvesting and all of the things that are required here in this time, you, depending on what you lived, you would not survive winter. Like winter is real. And, for us, we have the luxuries, some of us, have the luxury to not have to think about winter in that way. But our ancestors were serious about harvesting and jarring and quilting and recognizing that they needed to prepare for this very day because while the sun was going to be growing in light, we would be going through some of the harshest months that we will have, in survival was actually key. So, with the energetics of that, this is a great time to make and create the habits moving into the winter solstice. Allow them to be able to, because it has like, I think that 21 90-day rule, right? So, having the 21 days to build habits going into the winter solstice strong, right? And then to be able to really grow in these habits and be able to birth yourself anew. That's when we what's celebrated in Easter, right? The birth of, that's right, the birth, I said resurrection, but the birth of the sun happens here, right? The resurrection, the beginning of the year happens in the spring equinox. So I hope that's a bit succinct and a little bit of what we talked about. And I explained it on the talking video, but if you're like me and you're a visual learner, I wanted you to see the actual path that the sun does every year and how we can work with the energies and be able to come in with strong vitality and birth ourselves to ourselves for winter solstice. A lot of times we give these gifts now, right? But ancient Egyptian knowledge and things of that nature, we would actually gift ourselves by meditation, by dietary practices. We were gifting ourselves on that 25th, and then taking that in to the winter so that way um we could resurrect and come out to the rest of the world via spring and summer. So I hope that helps visually, and again I look forward to seeing you all soon. Peace.